Guns save lives. And this issue that we're talking about here is really important because it has real consequences in the real world. And so that's why I'm very excited about the speakers we have. I first want to start with Representative Richard Hudson, who again is the sponsor of the legislation. So would you join with me in welcoming Congressman to come speak to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a real honor to be here with you. And Ms. Allen, it's a real pleasure to be in your company. I also want to recognize Thomas Massey, one of my colleagues who's here. He's a strong Second Amendment supporter. And I saw Jody Heiss earlier. I think he may have had to head to another event, which unfortunately I've got to do in a couple minutes too. My advice to all new members of Congress is block off family time because your staff will fill every other 5 minutes on your schedule. So unfortunately I'm not going to be able to stay either, but it's really an honor to be here with you. I want to thank Erich and John and Pete Wyrick from the Gun Owners of America for sponsoring this event. Thank you for your tremendous work on behalf of our Second Amendment rights. You guys are in the breach whenever you're called upon, and we appreciate you very much. It's an honor for me to appear here with you today. And I want to thank all of you for being here. It's a busy day, a lot of things going on the Hill. It's very much appreciated that you took your time to be here and join us today. I'm a lifelong sportsman. I grew up with a grandfather who taught me to respect firearms. We had guns in the house that I never touched because I knew better. I was taught proper respect for that and the responsibilities gun ownership carries with it. Many Americans choose to own guns for a lot of reasons, whether it's self-defense, shooting, hunting, for whatever reasons. I believe the plain language of the Constitution is very clear when it guarantees our right to keep and bear arms. And our Second Amendment really is that right that guarantees all our other rights. A lot of folks would like to call it our first freedom because that's the freedom that guarantees we can defend our other freedoms. And that's why it's so important. And that's the reason I introduced H.R. 38. Not a coincidence. I asked the speaker for that number, the concealed carry reciprocity bill. Somebody on my staff suggested we get H.R. 223. I said that'd be pretty cool, but you don't really conceal carry a 223. So, and H.R. 9mm didn't really sound right, so we stopped at 38. But anyway, I'm really honored to be the principal sponsor of this. But as was said, we're already at 146 co-sponsors in just a month, and so a lot of that has to do with grassroots organizations like Gun Owners America pushing to get more co-sponsors. And my goal is to get to 200 and as many members of the Judiciary Committee like Thomas on there as we can. We've got a lot of strong members on there. I was talking to Ken Buck yesterday about it. And I feel really good about our chances of moving this legislation because we've got so many folks that understand how important this is. And really, it's a simple concept. When I drive here from my home in North Carolina, I don't have to stop at the Virginia border and take a new driver's test and get a Virginia driver's license. And if I miss my turn in D.C. and end up in Maryland, I don't have to stop and get a new driver's license for Maryland. Each state recognizes that. And in the Constitution, besides the Second Amendment, you've also got Article 4, Section 1, which requires states give, quote, full faith and credit, end quote, to, quote, public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. I'll read that again. Full faith and credit to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. That's why states recognize divorces from other states. That's why states recognize driver's licenses for every state. And in the same way, they should also recognize the right to concealed carry. It's also important to note that folks from constitutional carry states, their rights are also guaranteed in this legislation. So all they have to have is a government ID, something showing they're from that state, and that counts. So it's important that just like a driver's license, these permits and this right to carry is recognized in all 50 states. There's a lot of, the critics like to push back. They use a lot of emotion. The hostility really, to me, boils down to an anti-gun position. Since coming to Congress, I've been fighting to advance all kinds of Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment legislation, trying to push back on these anti-gun folks. And what I've seen over and over is that they're using emotion and we're using facts. And I think that's how we ultimately win this debate is, we recognize there are people out there who have legitimate fears, legitimate concerns, but they're being stoked and played to by the left, and to try and create fear. And so what we've got to do is be compassionate and be understanding towards people's fears, but respond with the facts. You know, the facts are, as more people are carried concealed, crime has gone down. You know, the horror stories the left tries to paint just aren't true. And so we have the facts, and we have the truth on our side. We have the Constitution on our side. And so it's up to us, I think, in a very humble but very forceful way to advance our position and explain to people what the true meaning of the Second Amendment is and what the true meaning of that Section 1 of Article 4 really means. And so if we do that, working together, I'm confident that we can do this. We also have another ace in the hole, our president, Donald Trump. How different it is this year compared to last year when we had a president who didn't, in my opinion, respect the Second Amendment and who was anti-gun. He was politically savvy enough to know that he couldn't do everything he wanted overtly, so he did it covertly. But today we have a president who campaigned on concealed carry reciprocity, who campaigned on Second Amendment rights, who was endorsed very early by another gun rights organization. And so it's a new day in America, and having President Trump supporting us is going to be critical in getting this bill done. You know, I'm confident we'll get this bill out of the Judiciary Committee, people like Thomas Massey leading the way, and I'm confident we'll pass this out of the House of Representatives. We've got the votes. But when it comes to the Senate, we're going to need 8 Democrat senators to vote with all of our Republicans. And you know, I can count about 4 Democrats, Thomas, I think we can get to come over, but we need 4 more, and I think the difference maker is going to be our president and his ability to you know, not pressure those folks, but just help create an environment where they'll do what they wanted to do in the first place, which is support this legislation because they know it's the right thing and the people in their states want this. And so it's going to be up to us to work together, to be smart about it, to use facts, to be compassionate to the folks on the other side, but to be very firm in our defense of our rights. And I believe we can get this done working together. And so I think one of the, you know, when I met Ms. Allen, I said, I've read about you and I've actually been telling your story for years. I can't believe I finally get to meet you. Chenine Allen is, if I made her story up, you would tell me it's too sensational. No one would believe it. So I can't wait for you to hear her tell her story in her own words. But she is the quintessential example of why we need this legislation. You know, the biggest pushback I get from reporters and other people about this is, well, won't criminals conceal guns? And you know, what? Like, well, criminals are going to do that anyway. What we're trying to do is make sure that law-abiding citizens who are trying to do the right thing are not criminalized. And there's no greater example of that happening than Shaneen Allen. And so I don't know if I'm introducing her or we'll just go ahead and bring her up. And please give a warm welcome to our friend Shaneen Allen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. It's been a while since I've spoken, only because I've been living life and trying to take care of my children the best way I can, especially after an ordeal that I've been through. I wouldn't want anyone to go through what I went through. So I'm going to try to take you guys back to 2013. It was October, and I was driving to New Jersey to throw my 3-year-old a birthday party. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to the Trump Hotel, actually. And I had got a room for 3 days, and I just went to SPCA that day and got a dog for my kids so I can surprise them, and I had balloons and cake and everything in the car. And I was just, you know, living my life like anybody else would. And I live in South Philadelphia, and I always would go in and out of New Jersey just to get my kids out of the area. That was like our decompress. So I wasn't in any kind of a rush. I was just waiting to go and have a good party for my son so I can go back to Philly the next day and bring him back so that he can enjoy himself. So in the midst of me being halfway already at the hotel, I got pulled over on the turnpike, entering New Jersey. I was about 5 minutes away from the Trump Hotel, and the lights, I seen it flash behind me, and I pulled over. The officer, the state trooper, pulled out. He got out of his vehicle, and he came up to my car, and he asked me, "What are you doing here?" And I looked at him and I said, "Well, this is New Jersey." I didn't really know how to answer that question. Like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm an alien. So at that point, he asked me for my license and registration and proof of insurance, my credentials. I then asked him why was he pulling me over. He wouldn't say. He just said, "Just please give me your license, registration, proof of insurance." At that point, I turned around, and I would always have my purse on the floor of my car. So I turned to the back to grab my purse, opened my purse, went inside. Before I can even dig to get my purse, my little purse, to show him my credentials, my license to carry, everything, I just voluntarily opened my mouth. He never asked me any questions about this. I just said, "I just want to let you know that before I dig in my purse, I'm licensed to carry. I have a firearm in my purse." And the officer looked at me. He said, "What?" I said, I repeated myself and said, "I just want to let you know I have my license to carry and my firearm. I don't want to dig in my purse." I want all you guys to understand the reason why I said that and why I got myself in trouble is because I didn't want him to think I was a threat to him. And I had no reason to lie. I had no reason. I wanted to cooperate because I really didn't think I was doing anything wrong at this point. So I let him know that my firearm was right here in my purse. And he said, "Well, where is it?" And I said, "Well, it's right here." And I went to grab my purse, and he's like, "Oh, no, let it go. Don't touch that." So I let it go. He snatched it out of my lap and pulled it out of the car, emptied all of my stuff on the hood of my car. And that's when he found my firearm. And at this point, I'm still looking at him crying, like, what are you pulling me over for? And he's like, "Well, you're not supposed to have this firearm. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to have it, but you're not supposed to have it in your purse." And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean you don't know how I'm supposed to have it? When am I getting pulled over for it? And he said, "This is procedure, be quiet." So at this point, he asked me to step out of the vehicle, took me to the back of the vehicle, put cuffs on me, took me in, locked me up. He even shackled my ankles to a bench. Not only was my hands behind my back, but my ankles was shackled. I didn't understand that point. He was trying to open my firearm. At this point, I was told I had howitzer bullets in my firearm. When I purchased my firearm, I only had it a week. I never fired it. The next day, after my kid's birthday party, I had plans to go to a ladies' night event where I purchased a firearm in Philadelphia where I can get training on the firearm. I never got the chance to get that training. So when he took my firearm, it had a safety lock. It had 3 safety locks on it. So my understanding is I don't see what criminal would buy a firearm with 3 safety locks on it that can go off. You're carrying it on your person, in your purse, and then give up the information to police. So I was just trying to break everything down to you guys so you can see that I was the first-time gun owner, and I purchased that firearm because I was robbed twice in Philly, in my neighborhood, in the same month. That's the only reason why I purchased a firearm. I was never around firearms. I always worked 2 and 3 jobs. I was a young mother, and I took care of my kids, so I never had a reason to want to be around firearms besides me protecting me and my kids. Even to this day, I carry and try to protect me and my kids. My whole point of even being here is because the National Reciprocity, before I even knew what it was, I thought that my driver's license and my license to carry was the same. It should be the same. Whoever wrote it differently, it don't make sense to me. It's not common sense, because then if I was from Alabama and I wanted to go into New Jersey, I would get arrested because I don't have their same license. It just doesn't make sense. So it's very important to get this passed so that I won't have to keep checking the app or Google or getting wrong information from police officers or just people that just don't want me carrying because they're scared of firearms and get myself in trouble. There's signs all over in places where they accept firearms, but there's so little for you to see. It's not allowed here, it's not allowed there. The places where the crimes happen, my firearm is not allowed. So I just thank you all for even being here to even listen to my story, because it creeps me out every time I say it, because it could happen to any one of you. Just that easy. Wherever you live, if you live close by here, even here, it should be recognized everywhere. I went through this whole ordeal and I'm still going through this nightmare. It's been 2 years and I lost my job. It took for me to get pardoned from Governor Christie and make enough noise and enough people got up that I never thought would stand up for me on the right, I would say, because I was very disappointed that I didn't get any support from the left. And growing up, hearing the things that I've heard, I went for them for help and they turned me down. So it's very important to put it out there to everyone that we care about the Second Amendment and just protection. I mean, you don't have to carry. You can have, it's just the right, it's just protection. It's, you care about your life enough to want to have that option to try to make sure that a criminal won't take your life before, you can take your own. I mean, that's common sense. But I thank Governor Christie. If it wasn't for him pardoning me, giving me a full pardon, I would be still going to jury trial. I would be doing 11 and a half years. My minimum was 3.5. New Jersey pressured me so much to take a deal, just to use me as an example, because I was a woman with a gun, and it made no sense. I just got expunged last January. Yeah, it's been a year. This month since I've been expunged, and it's still hard for me to get into work. I'm a medical assistant. I'm a phlebotomist. I draw blood. I help people. I talk to people all day, and I can't get back into work because of the trauma, because of me just wanting to get out there and speak on this issue to let everyone know, women like me, women that don't have the chance like me, to get their story out there. There are people in jail right now that took a deal, that are from different states that I've talked to, that wrote me letters, that want to know how can they get their story heard because they took a deal. I was willing to fight and go to jail. I had plans to get my kids taken care of by other people to do 12 years because they pressured me to take a deal so bad for something I didn't do. I just didn't think that was right. I was willing to go to jail for it again. So it was just the pride in me, like, how can you think I'm gonna take a deal for something I didn't do? I didn't even get to use it. I didn't get to protect myself with it yet. And there's no criminals that go out there and voluntarily to say I have a firearm. Things are just backwards nowadays when it comes to firearms. They think they're just so bad. I would never intend to hurt anyone. I have learned since then everything I need to know about firearms. There is good people out there who do take it seriously and that use it just for whatever purpose, whatever, if it's sporting, if it's just protecting yourself, or just trying to protect your land. People have that right to protect yourself and protect everyone around you if you need to. If you're on Wawa, if you go to New Jersey right now with your firearm and you just have it out in the open, that's unlawful possession of a firearm. You're going to jail for that bullet, not the firearm, but that one bullet, and that's going to give you 5 years, minimum 3. There's nothing you can do. I was arrested with rapists, women that were rapists, and they were doing less time than I was. It was sick. So I just want everybody to look and really listen to what happened to me and use that and tell the next person, because it's still happening to people, and we need to stop it with this national reciprocity and get on top of this bill so that we can get this passed, because if it was here, I wouldn't have went through that. So it's definitely very important to me, and I'm going to do everything I have to get it out there so that we can get it passed. I really appreciate all of you being out here today. Gun owners of America, Congressman Hudson, thank you so much, John, everyone, for even having me here. It was a humble having me here. It really was a gamble. I'm sorry, it was a gamble. My kids, they don't they don't want me out of their sight. Ever since what happened, one day I was home. I said I'll be back. I went to work and got off, went to get the dog, never came back home. That's very scary for a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old to go through. So I don't want no one to ever have to go through that ever again. And with this national reciprocity, we will. And with Trump, he's going to make it happen. So I came on the Trump train early last year. I wasn't sure yet, but I knew I wasn't going with Hillary. But Trump, I really learned a lot from him when it came to Obama being my president and not hearing me out. Because I tried to contact his office as well to let them know what was going on with me, and it was just like another story. So he reached out to me. I got to actually see Donald Trump and meet him, so that was great. I was actually getting to tell, someone my story, and them saying, you know what do you got to lose with me? So I'll never forget that. What do you got to lose? You're right. What do I got to lose? I done did too many days in jail. So thank you all, really. Every time I tell my story is different, and it gives me goosebumps every time I say it because I don't want nobody else to go through that. So thank you all for having me here.
We'll be able to take questions, right?
Yes.
We still have some time, so if you would like to ask questions, you can go to the mic to ask a question. Shaneen is available to answer questions that you might have. I think her story certainly highlights just the ugly face of gun control. It doesn't stop bad guys from getting guns, never has, but you see the people that it does affect. The people like Sandy Havel and Chenine Allen are the people that get affected by it. So it's good. I'm glad we're having this discussion. So Shaneen, why don't you come on up?
Well, first I want to say thank you so much for sharing that story with us. I had read about it before, but hearing it straight from you is just really powerful.
Thank you.
I know you're a single mother and you have 2 children, and I believe you spent 40 days in jail. Is that correct?
Actually, the days is very off because I didn't have to get a calendar, so I kind of rounded it off. Every time I speak about it, it's rounded off to about that. I know it's way over a month.
So my question is, as a single mother who's in jail, what did you do with your children? How did you reconcile? It's not easy for anyone to be in prison, but as a single mother, what did you do for your children?
Well, when I got arrested, they were home by themselves for a couple of days until I had to try to get in contact with their dad. I had to wait until after I went through all kinds of quarantine and jail just to wait till I get that first phone call to let them know where I'm at. And I don't know what's going to happen, but just take care of them, make sure they get back and forth to school as if I would when I was there. And that's how they was taken care of through their dad, making sure that they was okay. He did the best he could to take care of them. I kept money home. That was good for me. I'm glad I did that because that's what they survived off of until I came back.